everybody, it's Ian the Kilter Crafter. I hope you're having a great day today. It's that time again. It is time to kick off the 2023 Fall Puzzle Mystery Quilt from Cotton Cuts. I was going to do some sort of super cute filming out at a carnival or amusement park or something, because we of course know that the theme for this one is carnival, but unfortunately it is far too hot in Texas to do that with temperatures over 100 degrees for as long as the forecast will show. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So I also dealt with a little bit of a delay as Cotton Cuts was not able to get my box out to me. Usually the ambassadors for Cotton Cuts will get our boxes just slightly ahead of everybody, so that way we are able to provide the tutorial videos and stuff like that. But unfortunately Cotton Cuts was a little behind this time, so I just got my box recently and just now had the chance to put together clue number 1, which I will show you the tutorial video for. Now, if you're catching my video for the first time, my tutorial videos do have a they're time stamped, so that way you can get to a specific part of the clue. If you need help with that, you can look down on the bar just below the player window, or just in the player window. You can see it divided up into different sections. Or if you go down into the description of this video, you'll also see the timestamp, and you can click on that timestamp to be taken to that exact step if you need specific help on a specific step. Otherwise, you can watch the video all the way through and watch and sew along with me as we put our clue together. I'm going to be working on the large petting zoo. So if you have a large puzzle mystery quilt, you can follow along with this video. Even if you're not doing petting zoo, it will still be the same clue. It will just be different fabrics. Now here in just a minute, I'll dive into the puzzle mystery quilt box that was sent to me and show you what it looks like inside. I saw that there was some coordinating thread. I'll show it to you in a minute, but I missed that there was an oops kit included in my box as well. If you're not familiar with the oops kit, basically you can order this when you're ordering your puzzle mystery quilt, and it's extra fabric in case you accidentally rip, tear, cut, or whatever one of your pieces and need a quick replacement. You can cut one off of your oops. It's a small bit of the fabric that's included in your clues, and you get one of each, so that way you can quickly replace that without having to email into Cotton Cuts. Now, if you didn't purchase the oops kit, don't freak out. Cotton Cuts has a link that you can go to. I'm going to put it down here in the bottom of the screen, and of course down in the description box below. You can click on that link and email Cotton Cuts and let them know that you are needing some replacement pieces, and they'll be more than happy to help you out. And of course, that not only goes for pieces that may have gotten damaged or cut, but also it goes for if there are pieces missing or you just need some extra help. Give them a quick email and they'll get back to you. So I think that pretty much covers all the basics of the puzzle mystery quilt. Let's go ahead and get started and put together our first clue for Carnival. All right, let's go ahead and get started. If this is your first puzzle mystery quilt, the first thing that you need is, of course, your instructions. I'm working on the large Carnival puzzle mystery quilt this time, so if you have the large, these directions will be for you. There are other content creators who are working with the small instructions, so make sure to check them out if you have the small. These are all the instructions for putting together clue number 1, so I have those available. This year, this was the first year that Cotton Cuts had the availability to get all of your clues prepaid all at the same time, so that way they all come in at once, and then they email your directions month by month. So it's exciting that Cotton Cuts has introduced that, and that you were able to get all of your pieces and you didn't have to wait in the mail. As soon as the email came out, you were able to start working on clue 1. I did take a sneaky peeky already and looked inside. I of course have my color guide. Make sure to hold on to this. If this is your first puzzle mystery quilt, this is very important for you to hang on to. I would recommend taking a picture of this, so that way you know which fabric is which letter and corresponds on your instructions. So make sure to hold on to this. Super important. It also has super important information on the inside, such as tips and tricks. It has the contact info for if something is wrong or you're missing pieces. You can check it out on their website to see how to get in contact with them. And then over in this orange red box, it tells you what date each of the clues are shipping. So make sure to write that in your calendar, and that way you can keep track of when these pieces and puzzle mystery come out. It's always exciting, and a lot of people kind of get them confused because Cotton Cuts does 2 puzzle mystery quilts. Remember that this is the 2023 fall puzzle mystery quilt, and we'll have another one in 2024 and the spring. So they'll kind of overlap for a little bit. But this one always comes out on the last Friday of each month. So if you're doing a carnival, it will be the last Friday of every month. All right, so hold on to this. I'm going to set this over to the side. And then I, of course, have all of my clues in here. This looks to be clue number 1, and we got some goodies. We'll take a look at that in a second. We also have Flat Nancy. It looks like this is a new way for you to participate in giveaways and stuff. So there's information on Flat Nancy and how that works. Then I also have a challenge card, each clue. If you get them I can't talk, I'm so excited. If you get them shipped out monthly, you'll get a piece of cardstock like this that tells you how to put together a block, and then you also have a coloring card that you can use, and it says to post your completed coloring sheet by usually around the 15th of each month using hashtag #CCColorChallenge for a chance to win a prize. So another way for you to possibly win a prize. We have our card here that says welcome to the fall 2023 puzzle mystery quilt carnival. This is our 14th puzzle mystery quilt at Cotton Cuts, and we're so excited for this new design from our partner Sheila Christensen. She's the one that designs all of these. We are sure it's going to make a beautiful quilt that you love. So in this box we have all of the clues that we need, and they will email me the instructions. And then don't forget, extra borders and backing will be mailed prior to the big reveal in April. So at the end, if you ordered backing or extra borders, those will be coming with clue 10. So you don't even have to worry about those until clue 10. And then of course I have all of my clues in here. And I saw down here, I have a little goodie. I don't know who all got this. It was just in my box. So there's some coordinating threads. We've got like a burgundy, a green, and a purple that will coordinate perfectly with the fabric in this box. And then this looks to be, it looks like a silver. I don't think that's a white. It's sometimes hard to tell, but I've got that in here as well. So thank you to Cotton Cuts for sending that out to me. Love that. And all of my clues are here. But we're not focused on the rest of the clues. We're just here for clue number 1. So let's go ahead and open it up and see what's inside. All right, the first thing that we have in our box, at least that I received, is some pins. These are, if you've never done a puzzle mystery quilt before and you never got any of these pins, you're in for a treat. These are some of the best writing pins that I think I've ever gotten for free. So many people requested these pins in the Facebook group, so I'm excited to see that they are back. And I have some other ones that I got last time. I got the green and blue version, and now here I have the pink and yellow version. Love these pins. Super excited to have them. They are going in my pin container right now because I will be using the heck out of those. All right, let's see what fabrics we have. Okay, first off, we have 4 small triangles of fabric E. I have 10 small triangles of fabric C. I have 14 small triangles of fabric B. This one's a big one. I have 24 of my small D triangles. I have 4 of my F small triangles. I have 12 of my A small triangles. I have 8 of my middle-sized A triangles. I have 4 of my large B triangles. I have 2 small rectangles of A. I have 2 small rectangles of F. And then I have 2 large rectangles of A. These are all the fabrics that we're going to be using in today's clue. I'm going to go ahead and put them off to the side, and we'll go ahead and get started with step number 1. Okay, so we're going to be going ahead and getting started with our instructions for step number 1. By the way, we're making currently section 1A, and we'll be making 4 of section 1A. So we're going to be making 4 of these at the same time. And step number 1 says to join a small triangle of A to a small triangle of B, and we're going to make 4 of these. So we're going to go ahead and make 4 of these along our long edge right there. And don't go crazy and just start sewing all of them together. We're only making 8 of these in total. So I'm going to go ahead and put all 8 together, and I'll come back when it's time to press it out. Okay, I have completed sewing all 8 of those together. If you've never done a puzzle mystery quilt before, you'll notice on the instructions that there are arrows pointing in one direction on each step. That is the indication of which way you should press. So for step number 1, we're pressing towards our B half square triangle. In my case, that is the trash pandas on my fabric here. So I have some raccoons on it. So I'm going to be pressing towards my raccoons, or I like to call them trash pandas. So what I do for half square triangles is I like to do like half of it. I push up, I come back down, and then I do it over to the left. And that seems to really help with the warping issue, making sure that my blocks stay as straight as possible. Also, whenever you're working with half square triangles, remember not to stretch it as it's going through the machine. Make sure to let the machine do the work. Just let it take the material in. You're just there to help guide it. All right, so we have our 8, and now we're going to set 4 of these aside, and we're going to use them in step 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going to set these 4 aside, and I try to choose like different parts. I don't know. I'm kind of weird, and I like to choose certain randomized pieces to go in different places. If you are hoping to keep your directional fabric going in the same direction, it doesn't really happen with the puzzle mystery quilt because you never know exactly how those clues are all going to fit into each other. So just let that go. Don't worry about being right side up or upside down. It is going to land how it's going to land, and there's really no determining which way is going to be which. So just let that go. It's totally fine. That's kind of the fun of the puzzle mystery quilt. I'm going to go ahead and set these off to the side over here. We don't need them until step number 4, but we are going to move on to step number 2. All right, we're going to be moving on to step number 2. I've gone ahead and put my other stack of 4 just off to the side because we don't need them in this moment. Next, we're going to move on, and it says to sew a small triangle of C fabric to the top right of a medium triangle of A. We're going to press that, and then we're going to sew on a small triangle of D to the top left. So we're putting C on the top right and D on the top left. We're making a flying geese block using these 2 different colors of fabric, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm not going to come back in between putting on the right side and the left side. I'm going to go straight on from right and then start sewing on the left, but I'll come back when I finish with all of them, and I'll come back when I'm doing the final press of our D fabric. All right, I have sewn all 4 of those together. I like to press my flying geese the same way that I do my half square triangles, first up, back down, then over, and it really seems to help square them up more nicely, so really like doing it that way. We have pressed, remember you're pressing out from the center of your flying geese block, so away from your A fabric out towards your D and C fabric. That's going to complete step number 2. Let's move on to step number 3. Okay, moving on to step number 3, it says turn step 2 down so that the A triangle points downwards, and then sew on a step 1 to the left. So our A fabric in our flying geese should be pointing towards you, and then your A fabric will be next to your C fabric here on the flying geese. When you put these 2 together, we're going to be sewing along this seam right here. We're going to be doing that 4 times, and I'll come back when I'm pressing them out. Okay, I have pressed those together, and now we're pressing towards our flying geese block. So if you're looking at it from the front, you're pressing it towards the right. That's the way that the arrow is pointing. So towards your flying geese block. And there we go. So I now have 4 of those just like that. I'm going to go ahead, and it looks like we're going to set these aside for the moment. We're going to move on to step number 4. Okay, moving on to step number 4, it says to take the remaining step 1 units, so remember we set these 4 off to the side, and join a small D triangle to the right of B. So we're going to put it just like this. It's going to touch our, oops, I had that wrong. Thank goodness I paid attention there. Our B fabric is going to go down, so I'm going to be doing it just like that. So it's going to touch our B fabric, and then we're going to add a second D triangle to the bottom of B. So they're both going to be touching our B fabric. We're basically making a large half square triangle shape using all of these together. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and then we're going to be pressing away from our B. So out from our B fabric is the way we're going to be pressing. We got to be careful because this section does have biased edges, so make sure to avoid stretching when you're pressing these out. So I'm not going to stop in between. I'm going to go ahead and put on the one to the right, then I'm going to go and put it on the bottom, and then I'll come back when I'm doing the final press. Okay, I've sewn all 4 of those together. I'm now pressing away from my B fabric towards my D fabric, being very careful not to try and stretch on the biased fabric. There we go. We have completed all 4 of those. Let's go ahead and move on to step number 5. All right, moving on to step number 5, it says to sew a large triangle of B to step 4. So we're basically making that half square triangle just like this. Our B fabric should be pointing towards our B fabric triangle that we're adding on. So it should look something like this when we're done. I'm going to go ahead and make all 4 of these, and I'll come back when it's time to press it out. Okay, I have completed sewing all 4 of those together. I am pressing towards my large triangle of B fabric like the instructions tell me to do. So there we go, there's step number 5. Let's go ahead and move on to step number 6. Okay, moving on to step number 6, it says to sew a small triangle of D to the top right of a medium A triangle. We're going to press that, and then we're going to add a small triangle of C to the left. So we're basically doing the inverse or opposite of what we did earlier, and we're going to make flying geese that have our D on the right and our C fabric on the left. Let me go ahead and do that, and I'll come back when it's time to press it out the final time. All right, I have sewn all 4 of those. I'm now pressing out my final one here. So there we go. There is our step number 6. Let's move on to step number 7. All right, moving on to step number 7, it says to join a step 6 to the left of a step 5 with a medium A triangle pointing to the right. So we're going to be putting these 2 together, and I think I did that backwards. It's actually, this is our step 6, but it doesn't really matter. Our A triangle from our flying geese should be pointing to the right side of our block. So it looks like this when we're all done. We're getting a connection here. I say connection, but our D fabric should be lining up right here. And we'll go ahead and sew these together. We've got 4 of these, so I'm going to sew all 4 together, and I'll come back when it's time to press it out. Okay, I've completed that. I'm now going to be pressing towards my step 6. So basically our flying geese block that we added on, we're pressing in that direction. It might fight you a little bit because that point of the flying geese has a lot of fabric and a lot of bulk right there, so you might have to manhandle it a little bit. But there we go. We have finished step 7. Let's move on to step 8. Okay, moving on to step 8, it says to join a step 3 to the top of a step 7. We're going to make 4 of these. So we're basically just going to line everything up. I'm going to be watching right here at my point when I put these together, because these will nest whenever you're putting them together. Let's see. This one won't exactly nest because there's not a nesting seam right there. There is a flying geese seam, but it's not really a good nesting seam. So I'm just going to try and make sure that I am getting everything in the right direction and getting close to landing it where I need it to land. Again, our D fabrics will line up to make this kind of diagonal line, so make sure that your D fabrics are lining up. We also have a bow tie here with our A fabrics and our C fabrics. If you ever have done a puzzle mystery quilt with me before, you know I talk about the bow ties a lot because the bow ties show up a lot of different places, but we have our kind of diamond bow tie shape that forms right there. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of that. I'm going to come back when it's time to press them out. Okay, there we go. We have sewn all 4 of those together. We are pressing towards our step, which one was that? Step 3. So press upwards towards the top of this block. So it looks like this. There we go. So there we go. We have completed our first part of it. We're going to label these as step 1, clue 1A, however you want to do it. Just remember to label 1A on it because we are going to have a 1B in just a moment. But this is 1A. I'm going to go ahead and set these aside and we'll move on to 1B. All right, we're going to be moving on to section 1B, and we'll be making 2. It said the instructions say 4, but we're only making 2. That was a typo. So we're going to be making 2 of this, and we're going to be working on the instructions for step number 1. And there's several parts to step number 1. So 1A is to join a small triangle of F to a small triangle of D. We're going to sew those together like that. Then for 1B, we're going to join a small triangle of D and a small triangle of C. So we're going to put those together and sew those like that. And then our final step for step 1C is we're going to join these together to make what looks like kind of a half square triangle flying geese kind of shape. So that's what we're going to be doing, and we're going to be pressing 1A to our F fabric, 1B towards our D fabric, and then our 1C we're going to be pressing towards the DF triangle. Lots of information there. I'm going to go ahead and sew this together, and I'll come back when I'm doing the final press. I'm not going to stop in between because it's just putting half square triangles together, which is easy to do. So I'm going to go ahead and put all of them together, and then I'll come back when it's time to do the final press. All right, I've sewn those together, and now I'm pressing towards my DF half square triangle. So it looks something like this. So we have, again, our D, F, C, D fabric. I'm going to go ahead and set these off to the side because it looks like we're going to be making another shape similar to this. So let's move on to step number 2. Okay, moving on to step 2, we're going to start off on step 2A. It says to join a small triangle of E to a small triangle of B. We're going to make a half square triangle with that. Then we're going to join a small triangle of B to a small triangle of F, half square triangle. And then we're going to join our 2B and 2A's together. So they go together like this. We'll have B, E, F, B. Whew, that's a lot. All right, so I'm going to make 2 of these as well. Remember, in the first set, we just made 2. In this set, we're also making just 2. I'm going to go ahead and put those together, and I'll come back when it's time to press it out. Okay, I've sewn those together, and now I'm pressing towards our FB half square triangle, just like so. There we go. All right, that completes step number 2. Let's move on to step number 3. All right, moving on to step number 3, it says to join a step 1 to the top of a step 2. We're just going to put these together just like this so that our arrows are facing in the same direction. Our F fabric will be opposite each other on this. So if you have them opposite each other, you are going in the right direction. I'm going to go ahead and sew these together, and I'll come back when it's time to press it out. Remember, we just have 2 of these. We don't have 4. It's just 2 for this. So I'm going to go ahead and sew these together, and I'll come back when it's time to press it out. All right, I have put those together, and we are now pressing in the same direction as the arrows that we kind of formed are going. So we're going to be pressing towards the top here. Whoops, and I just added a wrinkle into that. There we go. So it should look something like this when we're all done. You might have to fight with your pressing a little bit, but that's okay. So there we go. So that's what step number 3 looks like. Let's move on to step number 4. Okay, moving on to step number 4, it says to join a small triangle of A to a small triangle of D. So that's step 4A, and then we join, for step 4B, we join a small rectangle of A to the right side of 4A. We're going to make 2 of these. So basically we're lining up our A fabric to touch and be in the same direction. So we're going to do first A, D, and then we'll sew on an A after that. We're going to be pressing everything to the left, so all of our A fabric is being pressed towards the left, and I'll come back when it is time to do the final press. Okay, I've sewn those together, so now I am pressing, oops, I almost did it the wrong way. I'm pressing towards my A and D fabric. So yeah, there we go. I forgot. I didn't brain for a moment. All right, there we go. So that's how that looks. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing for my second one here. We're pressing towards our AD half square triangle. Might be a little hard with all of that fabric bulk right there, but there we go. That's step number 4. Let's move on to step number 5. All right, moving on to step 5, 5A says to join a small triangle of D to a small triangle of B, just like this. And then 5B says we're going to join a small rectangle of F to the right side of our 5A. So our F fabric is going to be touching our D fabric, and we're going to be pressing our first one towards our B fabric, but when we put that F fabric on, it's going to point or get pressed towards our F fabric. I'm going to go ahead and put these together, and I'll come back when it's time to press it out. Okay, I've sewn my B, D, and F fabric together. I'm pressing towards my F fabric for this one, just like that. All right, so that is the completion of step 5. Let's move on to step 6. All right, moving on to step 6, it says to sew a step 4B to the top of 5B. So it looks something like that. Our D fabric is connecting, as you can see, just like this. I'm going to go ahead and sew both of these together, and I'll come back when it's time to press it out. Okay, I've gone ahead and sewn those together, and now we're pressing towards the bottom. So we're pressing towards the one that has the F fabric in it, just like this. So there we go. There is step number 6. Let's move on to step number 7. All right, moving on to step number 7, it says to sew a step 6 to the right of a step 3. So we're going to basically connect them just like this so that our D fabric lines up from our first part down to our second. I don't remember which one's which. So from our step 3 to our step 6, our D fabric lines up in a row like that. We're going to go ahead and sew this twice, and we'll come back. I will come back when it's time to press it out. Okay, there we go. I've finished that. I did press it towards our step 6, so press that direction. I apologize if you can hear they're doing the landscaping today, so I was in the middle of pressing that out when a leaf blower started up, but anywho, so that is our step 6, or excuse me, our step 7. Let's move on to step 8. All right, moving on to step 8 for 8A, it says to join a small triangle of E to a small triangle of A, just like this. We're going to make it 2 half square triangles. And then for 8B, we're going to join a large rectangle of A to the left side of 8A. So basically our A fabric will be touching just like this. I'm going to go ahead and sew these together, and I'll come back when it's time to press it out. All right, I have sewn all those together, and I'm pressing towards my large A rectangle, just like that. All right, we're almost done. Let's move on to step number 9. For step number 9, we're going to join a step 8B to the bottom of a step 7, and we're going to make 2 of these as we've been doing. So I'm going to go ahead and sew these together just like this, and I'll come back when it's time to press it out. Okay, I've finished sewing those together, and now I'm pressing towards the bottom of my clue, away from the direction that the arrows in the clue are kind of pointing. So there we go. There is our 1B clues. So we're going to label these as either 1B, step 1B, whatever you want to label it as. This is what you would have when you're finished. So let me grab my other clue. So there we go. There is our 1A and our 1B. I'm going to go ahead and put labels on these and get these ready to package up until we're ready to put the whole thing together. But we are finished month 1 of Carnival, and I can't wait to see what other creations we're going to be making during this one. It looks like it's going to be a fun one.